Hey, Remi, I'm so happy to be on here with you. I got connected with you through a friend last week, and I didn't even know what was going on. She's like, Shylo, you need to meet Remi. Remi, meet Shylo. I'm like, what are we doing? And it was awesome because when you have energies, I feel energies. And so the minute we started to chat, it was like, oh my gosh, yes. Oh my gosh, yes. And we're going to talk about all the things we talked about. Oh my gosh, excited. Well, you look fabulous today. I'm my cash, my sexy cash. You're in your
You look pretty.
Oh God, no girl, you look amazing. Now your goal is to have your own network. We're going to talk about that, but you have a show. You're really scaling your entrepreneurial business. And that's why I wanted to bring you on here, because I think it's really important to talk about. We feature entrepreneurs on here all the time, artists, entrepreneurs, up and comers. But your vibe, your energy, nobody's doing what you're doing out there. And so let's talk about how that got started. What are you doing with your show? You feature a lot of feature entrepreneurs, but tell us about your show, how that had started. And I'm going to dig in a little bit more to that before the story, right? And you like the grit. We want to hear the grit of the story. But first, let's talk about you. You're out in Rhode Island. Let's go.
Yep, I'm out in Rhode Island. I have a television show. It's called Remi TV. So I interview entrepreneurs, business owners, celebrities, and entertainers. And how I started out was I used to work for another television show out in New York City. But of course, when you're working for someone else and you're working underneath another company, it's the stories that they would like to talk about, things that they would like to highlight. And, I felt kind of constricted, and I felt like, well, I want to talk about the stories that I think is important, that I would like to talk about. And also I want to talk to the underserved Black and brown people in the communities that have businesses that are, not making that many sales and not making much profit, and actually highlight them and put them on television so that more people would know about them.
Yeah.
So after talking to a few people about it, people were saying Rhode Island's too small. Nobody's going to support that. And why would anybody want to support that? And then there was some people that would say, yeah, just go for it. You should do it. So at first I was listening to the other people telling me, no, it's not going to work because Rhode Island's too small. How are you going to get people to even watch your show and stuff like that? And I was like, well, I don't know, but I'm thinking about, I'm just going to wing it. Right. So I got a few people together, like camera guys and editors. And I said, hey, listen, what do you guys think about creating a television show for the unserved community? And they was like, sure, let's do it. So, we did our first episode with each other, actually, just talking about different topics and what we need to do to bring the community back together and start an entertainment industry in the state of Rhode Island, because we don't have it. Right. So that's how it started.
Well, I think it's incredible. We always love somebody who does that. And did you do this around the pandemic time? Was this around when everything was kind of quiet? And when did this shift happen?
No, I started Remi TV in 2018, going into 2019. But the ball was already, rolling and going already. But one of the things that did happen during the pandemic was right before the pandemic, before everything shut down in February of 2019, I did the first talk show in the state of Rhode Island. And then I was planning on doing another one, and then everything shut down.
Isn't that interesting? But it's so funny because a lot of the people that come on the show, I'm a broken record. I'm like, the entrepreneurial spirit rose. I mean, when we go through really tough times, that's when you see people like you creating. It's creating and pivoting and finding ways. Like, so a lot of us, we were in our businesses, I had my businesses and things, but it brought out such a different type of person, even in me, where I'm like, okay, what are we going to do? And instead of me panicking and doing like all the things, I sat back and I'm like, I'm going to see what happens here. And I still worked, but I didn't go to this extreme of fear, because I'm not a fear-based person. Fear happens to all of us, but I don't let fear run my life. And I'm like, I'm going to see what happens. Our business grew 300%. That is why, because I knew that what we were doing was right, but I'm just curious to see if it was really, what other people were going to do, the consumer. And I know when you look at the entertainment media industry, obviously I'm a part of that now too, coming into this, Lux Media and doing the shows and watching how that industry has flourished through all this, because that's where people are. People are in front of their computers. They're in front of their screens. They're watching TV. There's a lot of people, and I'll be honest with you, I'm not one of those people. I'm not sitting in front of my TV. I think the first time I turned on Netflix was last weekend to watch Ozark, because I'm a sucker for it. But before that, 6 months, you might see me go to a movie every now and then, but I've really limited, because what we consume is so important, especially right now. What you consume, not just food, not just liquid, what you consume up here is everything during times like these, because, you see a lot, we talked about this when we were talking too, you see all these people talk about being fear driven, and you talk about all that. Let's talk about your mindset during the last few years, because you are very driven. You're very focused. We talked about your goals privately. And I think what's incredible about you is you just don't have that in your soul. Like, you're just like, no, this is what I'm going to do. I may not be here yet, but that's not a problem. You're going to find the solution. And so, right. I don't know what you would say your greatest strengths are when it comes to being an entrepreneur, working, growing and building up this community of Black and brown men, women, artists, bringing that into the forefront, because you're doing something Rhode Island hasn't seen. Right. Talk about your mindset and where you're at with that, and what you would tell our viewers, because there's a lot of people listening who they want to bust out. They want to do something great. Mm-hmm. Tell them about what your process is, or what your mindset is around, even when it comes to consuming things.
Right. Well, I would say this. I'm the type of person that doesn't take no for an answer. I do not quit. And I take self-care, mental health care days, right? So if something is overwhelming, that I'm like, well, I'm just not doing this today. I tell entrepreneurs and business owners all the time, I know that we need to be productive, right? But don't work yourself into the ground, because if you're not here, who's going to do the work? Right? So it's only one you. So, and also too, I don't listen to negativity. And, people love to put their opinions on you, and it be negative opinions that could ultimately make you get discouraged and say, well, I'm not going to do it then, because they're right. Because that did happen to me before. So, sometimes I say to myself to this day, like, what if I really listened to those people that told me, oh yeah, Rhode Island's so small, you can't do that there, for what? Who's going to listen to it? Who's going to watch it? Then I would never been in this position right now, that I helped thousands of businesses and entrepreneurs. So you cannot let other people's negative opinions, you know what I'm saying, distract you from what your goals are. And because anything is possible if you do the work, you know what I mean? And it's not easy. There's going to be days where you can't sleep, or you don't sleep because you're thinking about it so much. There's going to be times where you're losing friends and everything, and they feel like you're neglecting them. But there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, but you have to make sure you do you at all times, and just keep going. That's what I would say.
It's brilliant, and it's absolutely true. You spoke the truth. I think a lot of times another thing that happens is we do all have great ideas. So many things come to us, and we wish we could do them all. And I think what I see a lot of the times in the world of my business is a lot of people get started. They're fired up. It's always fun the first 90 days. Like, yes. You're like, even if something goes wrong, you're like, it doesn't matter. But it's after that the honeymoon phase, I like to call it. You get through it, and you're like, and this huge roadblock comes in. And this is what determines the strength of your purpose and your goals. Because if you are not clear, so biggest part that people misstep on is they don't have clarity. They've got a lot of ideas. And I'm like this sometimes, because I'll be like, oh, I should do this, and I should do this, and I should do this. But if I don't have a clear vision of what I'm actually going to do, the minute that roadblock comes up, I'm like, that's when you it. And it doesn't mean it was a bad idea. It doesn't mean it wouldn't work. But how many times have you seen really, really talented people, entrepreneurs, that get started with something, you're like, that's a great idea. And all of a sudden, 6 months later, you're like, what happened to that?
Yeah.
What happened to it is one of those boulders came up, life hit them. It's going to happen. I'm here to tell everyone that's going to happen no matter how great the idea is. Like when you listen to some of the biggest entrepreneurs in the world, they will tell you how crazy bad it was at so many times where you wouldn't have known that. They just kept going. So having clarity is big, but if you don't understand the bigger purpose of it, you'll always fail. You'll always get rid of it, quit, start over. It's like, no, you don't have to start over. You have to pivot and you have to change. And a lot of the times to change, it sucks. People don't want to change. It's like, it might not be going the way you wanted it, but maybe it'll be even better if you go this path with it, but keep going.
Right. And instead of quitting, take a day just to relax your brain so you can reset and then start whenever you start feeling better. And also too, like collaborate with other people. And also too, when you're feeling down and when you're feeling like there's a roadblock, you need a strong support system. That's another thing. A lot of entrepreneurs and business owners, they have these great ideas, but they have so many negative people around them that it's not encouraging them to keep going, that it messes that up too. So you have to watch who is in your circle and who's around you. And a lot of times, yes, you do have to cut people off. I had to cut so many people off because they was just feeding me negativity all the time. And I was just like, you're messing with my mental health. You got to go. Oh, because there's goals that I need to reach and you're telling me it's not achievable.
Yeah, the minute that's the thing is there's a lot of people like that. That's why you need mentors, coaches, support. One thing that I learned, I am somebody who, when I'm in a really bad spot, I want to shove people away because I don't want them to see me like that. The people who love you are there for that reason. So I had to open that support system up last year because I went through a lot of shifts in my personal life. And I was like, I can't think like this anymore because I can't do everything on my own. I can't. And I aligned myself with strong, loving people. And so what would you say? Okay, you have a good support system. Now, saying, oh yeah, that person has to go with that. That's something that people can grasp. But okay, so how do I know it's a good support system? What would you tell somebody? Here's what I need to look for. Who's got you?
I would say it just depends on their responses when it comes to certain things. If they're saying, hey, what can I do to help? Or, hey, do you want to come over and we'll go over some ideas? Like a lot of my friends will say, hey, let's do a vision board this weekend. Or, they'll say things like that. That's how I know. Those are the people that I like to surround myself with because they have goals and they're goal driven as well, Mm-hmm. But the people who that's just like, just don't worry about it. If I don't know, it just depends on the energy and how they respond back to what I'm saying. Because if I'm having a breakdown and a meltdown, I'm in a meltdown, which all of us are gonna go through when you reach those boulders and you're like, what am I gonna do? I'm stuck. Depending on what they say to me is how I know whether I need to shut that person out or not. And you could just tell when people are genuinely happy for you and they're excited for what you're doing.
It's so true. And I think a lot of people, they think, well, it's family or I've known this person for so long, right?
Yeah, that doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't mean anything. I have great family, don't get me wrong. But if somebody's going to consistently knock me down, I can't have it in my life. So we're not telling you to go cut them out of your life forever and completely. We're saying people decide. I think people think cutting people off means never speaking to them again. No, but you need to know the boundaries. You need to set boundaries with these people. So we're talking about set these boundaries. Some people will have to go forever. I'll be honest. It's not everybody, but there's a few that you're going to be like, oh yeah. And the minute you remove this, it's lighter. Like you're like, yes. And when you remove these types of energies, you open up the door for better positive energies. Like you got to be open to receive other people because when you start letting other people in, you all of a sudden you'll meet people like Remi. All of a sudden Remi will come into your life. Shylo will come into your life. People will start just coming into your life that are going to fill you up. And you're not going to have to put energy into them because they have their own. Mm-hmm. It's not about that. You're not there to constantly be filling people. You have to be balanced. And it's really important to be a balanced entrepreneur. So you're a busy woman. Let's talk about your next projects and what you're actually doing. So you've done incredibly well. You're building up your brand. You're building up this media. You're gonna start a media. It's soon, right? We want to talk about what's the next steps for you and what are your goals for the next year to 3 years, I'd say, because we have the big picture.
Right. So the next project that I'm doing right now is I'm going to be putting a event together for self-care and mental health awareness for the community, because a lot of us business owners and entrepreneurs, right, we don't take the time out for self-care, like I was saying. And how I came up with that is because I was in that position at one time where I was overworking myself, really not getting much sleep, not drinking enough water. Guess what? Running around, skipping meals and all this stuff because I had meetings back to back. And then I got sick, right? And I'm like, why am I not feeling so good? Next thing you know, I'm hooked up and getting electrolytes put in me because I'm dehydrated. So I'm like, oh no, yeah, this can never happen again. Yeah. So after that, I said, no, I have to take time for self-care. I have to take a day off, or I have to take, even if it's a week off, just do it. And like I said, it helps you reset. So I'm going to be having some therapists there at my event, yoga instructors, holistic health experts, like just anything that has to do with mental health and self-care that's going to help other people to gain resources on who to go to if they need to talk to a therapist, if they need holistic care. Because a lot of people don't realize when you're stressed and overworked, those things causes diseases.
Yep, absolutely.
And no, we need to all stay healthy mentally and physically in order for us to continue to do what we do.
What's the date of that event? What are you doing that?
I'm planning on doing it in April. I had to push it back only because I'm keeping an eye out right now on COVID. And also too, I'm still currently looking for panel speakers and also sponsors for the event. So the bigger the event for the community, the better for me. And I'm not in, and of course we're going to be wearing masks, and of course we're going to be 6 feet apart. So that's why I have booked the biggest venue that I can book. So everybody's like spread out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You're speaking my language. Burnout is real. Let's talk about that before we wrap up. Burnout in entrepreneurship it happens every day. And I really speak to women, because I've done it, words don't teach, experience does. I could have heard this over and over in the 15 years I was a business owner until it happened to me. And I was like, and now I know what burnout is, because I went through, a couple of years, I was nonstop. I was a monster. Like I was a machine. And I thought that it was so good. I mean, I look back, have you ever done this and you get a Facebook or a memory that pops up and you're like, oh Lord, no. And I read what I wrote and I'm like, nobody would have wanted to work with me. I look insane. I look like a robot. And so what I really try to help my women is like, it's okay to take a day off. Mm-hmm. It's okay to shut down. Mm-hmm. It's okay to not look at your phone. And you need to be taking care of yourself, which you're talking about, because I never stopped and smelled the roses. I would get an award. I'd get an award and I'd be like, good, great. And it was like this. I'd put on, I wouldn't even care. I got it. On to the next project. All right, what are we doing now? See one time, a big one. And I didn't read the article ever. Oh my God. Didn't even read it. I opened it. I'm like, cool. Put it on the shelf. Never even read it. I'm like, why didn't I read it? Because it wasn't good enough. And what happened is, because it wasn't good enough, I wasn't even putting out the right energy. So I was like, I got to go to the top. What's the top? When you get to the top, what's it going to be? It was never enough until my body completely shut down. I developed, I just did a post about this, but I didn't talk about this part. The part of the burnout that started to get me was my skin is the first indicator of when I'm stressed out. My skin was really starting to do things that was really interesting. I have an autoimmune that causes some marks on my legs. Well, I also have psoriasis. And so my psoriasis was all of a sudden, I'm like, what's going on? This is really bad. Then my legs started to look like I started to get these little red spots, which nobody would notice but me. I'm like, something's up. I started drinking more. My stress was through the roof. My anxiety went crazy. I developed rosacea because I was drinking too much. and because of stress. And then it was like this, and then I wasn't sleeping, and then I was drinking water, and then it was like whoosh, cycle. And I was under this immense, extreme stress, and then I was getting stressed about being stressed. There was a meme that came out, and I was laughing. It's someone's like, "Hey, you look pretty stressed," and in the little cartoons, like, "Yeah, it's probably all the stress."
Right.
It's so true. Like, but I know you've experienced it. So let's talk about burnout. I mean, it's a real thing. I don't care if you think you are number one and nothing's going to stop you, because that's the people it stops, because we're push. And I'm going to tell you, when I slowed down and started to smell the roses and I really enjoyed things, my business grew. It got better, people. It's not getting better because you're pushing harder. I will tell you that right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I would say too, it's like one of those things when you want to reach a certain goals, and that's why it's like rush. Nope, I gotta do it. I gotta, like you said, I gotta get to the top. That's what causes a burnout. And also too, when you don't have a team. So, I still don't have a full team, and I'm doing everything by myself. So one of the things that I think in my brain is like, if I don't have a team, who's going to do it? Me. So I have to stay up till 5 a.m. sending out emails, sending out pitches, doing this, doing that. And that's what causes a burnout. But if you say to yourself, like, the light bulb has to go off, like, wait a minute, it's been a week full of going to sleep at 4 a.m., waking up at 9 a.m. No. I have to take a few days off, get some rest, eat, sleep. Even if it's watching a movie, go get your nails done, go get a eyebrow wax, do something for the men, go get your hair done, go get a lineup, something that guys like to do, and just reset. Go hang with your friends, talk on the phone, do a little gossip about your favorite television show. Something that you like to do that's cool. And reset. It's important.
Well, escaping is okay. And also, here's the other thing. When I was going through all that, I wasn't experiencing joy. I'll be honest. How could you? If you can't even enjoy what you worked for, like, think about it. You throw out awards and you're like, yeah. Did we enjoy it?
No.
Really? No. I didn't enjoy anything. Everything wasn't enough. And so we have to really think about that when we are pushing so hard. It's like, you do have to take the moment. You bring your family in. Like, my kids didn't know what I was doing. They didn't even talk to me for years because I was like, no, busy. And that's when I had to check myself. Not only did I crash, I was losing my family.
Oh, yeah.
It's easy to do. And people don't, how could you do that? When you're so focused,
you just see straight ahead.
Yeah, you blinders are on. There is nothing else. So we do, as entrepreneurs, really have to focus on. I'm really glad that you shared. And I want you to come back on. I mean, this has been an incredible show. We covered so much in a short period of time. But as we wrap up, how can people find you? We're going to post your links, so no worries. But real quick, because people might not look, if they're listening, how can they find you, connect with you, maybe be on your show? I mean, there's people from all over the world on here. So let's tell them how to find you.
Okay. So in order to be on my show, all you have to do is send me an email, tell me a little bit about yourself, and then I will respond back to you with some dates and, possible pre-interview. My email is remitvmedia@gmail.com. And you could follow some of my content on Instagram, which is Remi TV Official on Gmail, and Remi TV Official on TikTok, and Remi TV Media on YouTube and Facebook.
I love that. And, we're not done together, obviously. Your event sounds very interesting. It's up my alley. I'd love to maybe help if I can in any way. Also, Lux Media is a platform that supports women entrepreneurs. So we are so grateful that you came on and showed us some support. And yeah, let's collaborate more. I think it's incredible. And what's really important before we wrap up, collaboration. We mentioned it, but I'm going to tell you something. Collaboration has got me where I am. Not me. Not just me. Same. And when you think about it, you're like, yeah, I did that, but this person was here. I've collaborated with so many people. And even if it's just to have a phone call for support, you don't understand how big I've had people who I've only talked to once change my life. So never forget that collaboration connections are what businesses are built on. Because when you find somebody, they're connected to somebody and they're connected to somebody who, when you have a relationship, this is the other part, when you build those relationships, they're going to bring you in to support you, even when you're not asking for it. Oh, that's a good idea. Oh, Remi's doing that in Rhode Island. No one else is doing it. Well, that's fabulous. Who do I know in Rhode Island? Ding, ding, ding. I know a few people. And then you start to go like this. Who could benefit from this service or person? And that's how you have to think as a businesswoman. And that's why you're as far as you are. And that's why you're going to explode this. And I already know that. And I'm so excited. And let's talk more about your event and how, I can support it, or one of us can support it and get you going, because you're definitely going to be on the big.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to having you on my show so we could talk all about coaching.
Oh God.
I cannot wait. I can't wait. I'm excited for that.
I'm excited too. There's a lot coming, and that's a process too. I think some people are like, oh, so when's that up? And they're all like, it's tomorrow. I'm like, well, no, it takes time to build that.
Yeah.
But we've been building it. The coolest thing about my business is that it basically has been setting me up for right now, but I want to do it right. I'm not half-ass and no cookie cutter. And so, the next 8 weeks are going to be so life-changing, because everything's about my social media is going to get flopped. And I like that stuff. I like to go, okay, let's pivot. It's time. I'm a Facebook girl. I hated social media when it first came out. I was like, never had my phone. And then you start a business, you're like, well, look, I have no choice now. And so I'm like, oh boy. And I learned all the wrong ways. Like, I'm like, don't do this. So everyone always asks me, they're like, well, what's your experience? I'm like, well, I can tell you for sure with confidence that I made every mistake, so you don't have to. I'm like, with confidence, I can guarantee I've done it. And so everyone always laughs. I'm like, no, I'm being funny. I'm being serious. So experience is everything. You have so much experience. And for the people you bring on your shows, they are just blessed to have you, to kind of bring Rhode Island out there, to bring those artists, because there's a lot of talent out there. And we want to see that too. And I want to see it. So I'm looking forward to more of your shows and really plugging in and getting some people connected. It's going to be
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for all your support.